5 minutes later.
I'm a prison abolitionist. Of course, I want to see prison sentences reduced for all prisoners. That includes people that have been uh, convicted of child sex abuse.
All right, look, guy. On a serious note, the reason why I came after you is not because you're advocating for tolerance. Now, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret, Tony, in case you haven't noticed. I don't think that someone should be thrown in prison or denied basic human rights just for admitting that they are a pedophile. I would never support that. But you see, Tony, what you just said was related to someone who has been convicted of child sexual abuse. Do you hear yourself? This is why most people, when they hear you, they are going to reject you. It's not because we hate you. It's not because we hate pedophiles or just hate people in general. It's not because we are against civil rights. It's not because we are fascist Russian agents. And yes, you made a comment on Facebook that you thought I didn't see, but I saw, and I'll address that later. But for now, Tony, the reason why there were so many people interested in you and people like me pop up to attack you and people like me pop up to criticize you is because you're not just defending pedophiles. You are calling for people who have been convicted of child sexual abuse to get less prison time, Tony. Do you understand why someone like me, who has a very young child and has worked with juvenile delinquents in my state's Department of Juvenile Justice and has seen the effects of child sexual abuse when it comes to young children and juvenile delinquents, could you understand how I could take that statement that you just said and oppose you on every level based on that statement, Tony? This is why people are calling you a pedophile, because I have a hard time believing that someone like you would go around saying such things unless you were doing it for one of three reasons. And reason one, it could be that you're just trying to be edgy. Tony, if that's the case, then just say that, hey, that's fine, cool, I get it. Reason two, you might be just insane. Reason three, you like children, and I don't mean in the Ronald McDonald way. Those are the only logical reasons I could think of when it comes to someone like you making a statement like that. Tony, you understand that when you make that statement, you are going to get criticism. Therefore, you sitting back pretending that you are a victim makes you look even worse. If you're going to go around writing stuff or making videos on YouTube, you have to prepare yourself for when people talk shit about you. Except in this case, I'm not just talking shit about you. I'm pointing out legitimate cases where you have lied and you have displayed shitty behavior. That's my problem with you, Tony. You are advocating for people to get less time in prison even when they have been convicted of a crime such as child sexual abuse. I tell you what, Tony, you live in Poland and you've already announced that in my comment section, so I'm not doxing you, Tony. And I already screenshot your comments to prove that. So I want you to go around Poland and I want you to say, I want child sexual abusers who are convicted of that crime to get less time. I want you to go to a random street corner and just ask around. Announce that you want child sexual abusers to get less prison time. I guarantee you the reactions will not be kind. And the unkind reactions are not irrational, Tony. People have kids. They have nieces and nephews. Some of those people are godparents. Some of those people are grandparents. So the massive negative reaction that you got as a result of my video when I showed some of your screenshots is not an irrational reaction. People don't like it when people like you go around trying to make excuses for pedophiles or advocating for pedophiles or child sexual abusers to get less prison time, because it sounds insane, Tony. That's why people are opposed to you. It's not because we are fascists. It's not because we just hate you. It's not because you're gay. It's not because the whole world is against Tony Cochran. People are giving you these reactions because you are displaying shitty behavior, and so you will get responses. Trust me when I say I could have made this 10 times worse, but I didn't. I actually held back, Tony. I do think that to a certain extent, you are a sick man. When I say sick, I mean you have a mental illness that you need help for. That's what I think, Tony. You can be upset at me for that. I don't care. But you go around saying that child sexual abusers who have been convicted should get less prison time, you will always get a response from me.
Which then opened the door for him to go and do some of his own investigative research, finding various clips online and or fabricating information
Nobody fabricated anything, Tony. I merely hid those people's names because you are known to go after people. But if you want some names, here, let me help you out with that. This comes from a man named Christopher Cochran. He says here, not only does he defend pedophiles, but his supporters will come into your DMs posting pro-pedophilia bullshit, then call the cops when you tell them to fuck off. How about Cameron Bielski? He says here, yeah, I let him stay at my house one time, and he stole a bunch of stuff including my roommate's wallet. That validates the other person who came forward to me saying that you stole their shit, and that situation happened in Phoenix, Arizona. How about Emma Rose? She says here, CW, pedo sympathizers I have over 75 mutuals with. In a thread posted by Tony Cochran calling opposing pedophiles a witch hunt. How about Josh Kirby? He says here, after reading his article, I'm all for getting pedophiles help for their mental illness. I'm all for prison abolition, but equating it to a sexuality akin to LGBTQIA folks is dangerous as fuck. And from these comment threads, stating that pedophilia is somehow an okay sexuality to have is fucked. Oh, by the way, when I said that you are actually Eilif Verney Elliott going around pretending that you're not, apparently I am not the only person to notice this. How about Ross Wolf? He says here, LOL, and Tony had another alias, Eilif Verney Elliott. And all someone has to do is go to Facebook and type in Tony Robert Cochran, and they'll see people talking shit about you left and right. And I mean that literally speaking. People on the left and the right don't like you, Tony. I fabricated nothing. I certainly didn't fabricate this mugshot. I didn't fabricate this criminal conviction in the UK. I certainly didn't fabricate the fact that you go around under different names trying to boost your own work. With that said, you need to fabricate some evidence that your victim is lying. You need to fabricate some evidence that she sexually assaulted you because you also claim that she was masturbating next to a dead fish. Tony, most people are not going to believe that, and you show no evidence that what you're saying is true, and nobody has reason to believe you. And while you're at it, fabricate the funds that were donated to you on behalf of Africa.
And then at the end of the video, the penultimate end of the video, is an interview with the person who put me in prison, who happened to actually also say in her interview that at some point someone's probably going to hit me in the head and kill me, essentially.
Well, would it have been better if she said she wished that someone would hit police officers in the head and kill them? Because in 2014, you didn't have a problem with that. Stop acting like a victim. And yes, Tony, she had a point. When you go around stealing other people's money and you have a history of doing that according to the statements, and you have been convicted of that crime, Tony, people are going to have a violent response to you. Allow me to make myself clear. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about people in general. If someone were to come into my home, even if I invited them and they took something that belonged to me, Tony, I would be very upset and I would say some very harsh things about that. She was not threatening you. She was stating a fact. When you go around taking other people's things, Tony, people are going to be pretty upset about it. So yes, one day if you keep doing the exact same thing, someone is going to have a violent reaction to that. Get over yourself.
The beginning of the video starts off with the mug shot of me after I'd been arrested and taken to hospital, then arrested. Had been in a fight with my boyfriend. It was very serious, and it did include a physical altercation where he was punching me and an attempt to stop it, and I was charged with strangulation. The photographic evidence, the fact that he wasn't hospitalized, the DA dropped the charges. I was never charged or convicted. I have never been charged or convicted with any crime in the United States, with the exception of a minor in the possession of alcohol when I was 19.
Okay, and I never claimed that you were convicted. The point that I was making was that if you have mugshots right here in this country, and as you just admitted to another crime that you committed when you were an adult, that when you went over to other countries, you would cause trouble there too. And whether you know, I was correct, because you were convicted of a crime there and sent to prison. I never said that you were convicted, and yes, you were charged, sir. The charges were dropped, but you were charged. So you just lied right there. You just said that I was not charged. Oh yes, you were charged. The charges were just dropped. But the bottom line is, I proved my point. point. Once a criminal, always a criminal. Now, Freaks and Geeks, I'm gonna end the video with this, because everything else he says is pretty much bullshit that he can't prove, but he seems to think that this is a well-funded organization and effort. Now, Freaks and Geeks, you guys have known me for a while. If you've been subscribed to my channel for a while, you understand that I've been making YouTube videos for quite some time now, and aside from that, it costs me nothing to make these videos, at least by my standards. He also seems to think that the Russians had something to do with this. Yes, he's going full George Takei. He is also going full CNN and full conspiracy theory mode because he thinks that the Russians are orchestrating this. He says here, yes, what a hell of a couple of days. And the views on this thing, like 6,000. Well, it's way more than 6,000 now. Backed by right-wing Trump troll, all with an interview and everything. Well financed, and then the Russians are messaging me about pedophilia and working with these people. Creepy.
Everybody knows you never go full retard. You went full retard, man. Never go full retard.
Really, guy? The fucking Russians? Tony, I can prove that you have said some things about yourself when it comes to your victim, and you don't seem to realize that you actually said it, Tony. So let me help you out with that. This also comes from Mix96 in the UK. And now, Tony, you are claiming that your victim is lying, but they have a direct statement from you. Let me read to you what you said in court. According to this article, which is archived down below, it says here, in court on Friday, Cochran, who represented himself, said he was sorry for what he'd done, but told the judge he was desperate not to be deported back to America after he had completed any sentence. This is what he told the court. I would like her to know I am sorry. I can't fix what I have done, and it's something I've never done before. I can change that. Tony, did you make that statement? Because, Tony, that does not sound like an innocent person. But what do I know? I'm just a devil in the details.